Welcome back to I've Got Something to Tell You with Taylor and
Colleen.
And we're on episode 18.
So crazy.
I know.
We're legal now.
I know. We count as a real podcast now. Just kidding. But yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, big news in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The Nelly Ja Rule.
Oh, yeah.
And Chingy concert.
And Eve, right?
And Eve, yep. So found out yesterday I am obsessed with Nelly and seen him multiple times, but I also love Ja Rule. And so this is like a dream come true. And I bought tickets and I'm pumped. It's not until August, which we're in May right now.
Yeah.
Well, end of May, almost June.
Yeah.
So.
And then you decided that this was our next outing as a podcast because last time we did the Phoenix ghost tour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now we're going to Nelly.
Yeah. I was like, I get to pick the next one and this is my choice.
Colleen's seen Nelly a million times and I got to go with her one time and it was really fun.
Remember he walked past us and I just
lost it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was also with remember it was my old boss's wife that got us tickets and I was just keep it cool, Colleen, keep it cool. And then just
there's no way you can keep it
cool.
It
was impossible. I don't know what.
She got to your old boss got to actually meet him, right?
Yeah, that was pretty I mean, so I feel really cool knowing her that she
You try to sneak in with them.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be fun. Anything else?
That's kind of the biggest thing in my life.
I know. Is there anything for me? I don't think so. I subs out of town. So the first night was kind of creepy. I feel I'm always extra listening to things. Yeah. But then after that I'm eh.
Well, you may be able to eat guacamole again. That's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is really exciting for me. I got a wrap last night and didn't realize there was avocado in it. And I'm not severely allergic, but it would always make my throat itchy, which would not be a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some last night and it didn't do anything. So I was like, hell yeah. Because I'm always so jealous of people that have avocado toast because it always looks so good. But then I'm damn allergies.
Damn it, my body.
Yeah. So that's my update.
Did you watch the Summer House reunion?
I did.
What did you think?
So I've been, I'm still honestly Team Jesse.
Same.
And I feel the situation is kind of fucked up. I think you and I both said he is a fuckboy. We know that.
Yeah.
But I still like him better.
I do too. Well, and I think that's the thing is that I keep getting caught up on because I made Kyle watch it. Yeah. Or watch he was watching kind of portions of the season. He won't sit down and watch it, but he'll have commentary as he's doing stuff on the computer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just funny the first time something happened with Jesse and it was the commenting, he would make comments on the girls' photos. And I turned to Kyle, I was like, so what team are you on? And he was just women, women, whatever the women say. He's
so was that his safe answer? Was he really?
That was his safe answer. Okay. It was just funny because
you're well, I'm Team Jesse, so
yeah. He was just I think he got nervous and was just
he's this sounds good to say.
Yeah.
I know. So there's been because I follow Bravo and then some of the cast members. So on the explore page, random pages will pop up and I like to look at the comments to see where other people are.
Oh yeah, Tyrone.
Yeah. I was I kind of agree with Tyrone here. But it seems there's a lot of mixed opinions now, where before it was more Jesse and now it's kind of mixed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's where I was going with before. It was just I just like him better. I know he didn't handle the situation great. So it's not when I say we're Team Jesse, it's just we just like Jesse better. Right?
Yeah. And I almost feel I feel a lot of stuff he did do behind her back, but then she was made aware of it. And she also saw how he was. So it's just that's just the person he is. And a lot of people in the comments were saying they were surprised at the other girls' reactions, being like, well, I told you not to date him.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, they did tell her.
Yeah.
Like, they were trying to be girls by being
Yeah.
like, hey, he's doing this stuff. You might
Yeah.
want to, like, you still got time to exit.
Yeah.
So
I will say there was one answer that he had on the reunion, because like one of the watchers submitted questions was like, did you just want to date Lexi because you wanted to date somebody really hot? And he's like, no, I liked Lexi for Lexi, like her eyes and
oh,
like,
I
all
heard
this
that part.
stuff.
I was like, so he's listing all the physical things.
Yeah, I was like, bro, you're still kind of missing that.
I know. I caught that too, and I was like dying. I was like, listen, just be upfront. You just
Yeah.
wanted to have sex with her because she said she would only do that if she
they
was
were
in a relationship. And
yeah.
they were going to be together all summer anyway. So,
So I guess clarifying, we're Team Jessie because we just think Lexi's annoying.
yeah, she is annoying. I feel like she's like not totally innocent in it. And I think that's what makes it easier to be like, I'm Team Jessie.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I just thought of another life update, but for you. You dyed your hair red.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tune into our Instagram and our TikTok and our YouTube, because I went from blonde to like a dark burgundy red. And so you can see my new hair.
Yeah. And at first it was like fire truck red. And then we like, I mean, Colleen can pull off like any shade of red. I feel like
so kind of you to say.
But you can. I'm not just saying that. I feel like you have the perfect complexion for it, because she's like fair skin, the freckles, blue eyes, like the red hair goes with it. But it was really like
it was
bright.
It
in
was
the
bright.
sun. In the sun, it was really bright.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like a deep burgundy red, and it's really pretty.
Yeah, I really like
it.
Yeah, I'm excited with it. Taylor did a beautiful job. She colors my hair.
Well, thank you.
She cut it, and I just like, I love it. So I'm really happy with it. But yeah, if you want to see it, follow us on
go on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram.
Yep, igstty pod. Find us on all the platforms.
And subscribe.
While you're there, give us a 5-star.
Yeah. Oh yeah, rate and review, please and thanks.
Thanks.
Gotta say that every time.
Yeah.
So my story this episode was inspired again by a TikTok that Anita sent me. So it's called The Elevator Game. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, because I had never heard of it either. And I'm not really gonna tell the story like word for word that I watched on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be more about like the origin of the game. And then here and there I'll bring up some stuff because everyone has like a lot of different outcomes. But I'll get into that. So, Colleen, I've got something to tell you. So, like I just said, I'm gonna tell you a story about something called it's called Elevator to Another World, but also known as the Elevator Game.
Okay.
And the origins of the game link back to South Korea and Japan, not really having a clear like starting point, but like somewhere in the area. It gained popularity in the early 2000s on internet forums, especially a Japanese one called 2chan, I think, which is now called 4chan. I saw a couple of different ones, so I wasn't really sure, but it's something like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then and also Reddit. So, and I mean, if you know anything, or if you've seen any kind of like Japanese horror film, they are scary.
Yeah.
Like not just The Ring or The Grudge, or I think those are Japanese, right? I know The Ring is.
I think they originated there and then like they Americanized them, but like from what I've heard is like the Japanese version is like so much worse.
Yeah. And I've seen like a few. I remember one of our friends used to really like I think they're called like Japanese, like the short horror films. Like they'd only be like maybe like 30 minutes or something. And they were terrifying.
I was just going to say that's a really short time. Like,
yeah,
that's like a condensed.
Yeah.
That even scarier.
And I feel like they'll be such simple concepts, but they'll be so freaky. Yeah. Like I remember one of them was like about this like almost like I feel like she looked like the Grudge or the Ring type personality. And it would be like if you had like jewelry on, like this necklace or the earrings or whatever, and you couldn't get it off, like she would attack whoever had jewelry on. And I don't remember the full extent of the story. I just remember being like, I gotta make sure I can take this off really quick.
Oh my gosh, you know when you like try on rings in the store and,
And
you
you
can't
can't
get
get
them
it
off?
off?
What if
I think I literally thought of that. I was like, what if you had to like chop your finger off
yeah,
or like
before she like attacks you.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
Just like thinking about that, and like this is also such a simple concept too, but I'm like, I could see how this could be like horrifying.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
So the elevator game, it's believed that by following a sequence of floors and rules, you'll get to what has been described in different stories as a shadow world, another dimension, or just like another world. The elevator game is deeply unsettling and spooky, but first let's start with the rules of this game. 1, you must play it by yourself. You can't bring your best friend.
Dang
You
it.
can't go in a group, so we could never play it.
Yeah.
2, the building you choose must have at least 10 stories. And 3, don't speak to anybody. And 4, if anyone joins you, you can't complete the game. And
Like joins in the elevator?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have to be alone, so a lot of people choose to do it like at night if they're
Yeah.
gonna try it, so they don't accidentally run into someone and just have to stop. But there is one exception, the 5th floor, but we'll get onto that later.
Okay.
So the game sequence, you go into a building, the building that you've chosen, and remember it has to be at least 10 stories tall with an elevator that reaches all 10 floors consecutively. And you would press the up button. Before getting on, make sure no one else is on the elevator with you, like we just said. And once you get on, you click the 4th floor, then the 4th floor to the 2nd floor, 2nd floor to the 6th floor, 6th floor to the 2nd floor again, 2nd floor to the 10th floor, and then you don't get off on the 10th floor, but hit the button to go down to the 5th floor. After you arrive on the 5th floor, a young woman may or may not get in the elevator with you. If no one does, don't worry, the elevator game is still occurring. However, if she does, don't look at her and don't speak to her, because she is not what she seems and she is not human.
Are you gonna tell me what she is, or is that like...
It's definitely like an entity, and you'll kind of, we'll kind of get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I mean, nobody knows for sure, but it's almost like shape-shifting.
What if you do talk to her?
I'll get into that.
Okay. I figured, but I have questions.
Actually, yeah, let me get into that right now, though. On the TikTok that I watched, that Anissa had sent me,
Mm-hmm.
for her on the 5th floor, because she had a group of friends that were there when she was doing it. Her friend got on the 5th floor, and she talked to her, and eventually she had gotten off. She ended up later saying she never saw her.
The friend?
Yeah. And she was like, I was never on the elevator. What are you talking about? So this like thing shapeshifted into her friend to trick her into talking to her. And in a couple of other stories that I read on Reddit, like they showed up as like a famous person, like a celebrity, or so like someone that you would actually like and be like, oh, hi.
Tom Hardy gets on. I'm like,
failed the game.
Yeah, immediately done.
And then there's like, it's been described as like almost like a woman with like long dark hair, kind of like ring looking type.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't talk to her for sure.
Yeah. Hell no. So anyway, despite that, don't get off on the 5th floor. Stay on even if the woman is with you and press the button to go down to the 1st floor. Once you press the button to go to the 1st floor, there's 2 possible outcomes. It'll either go down to the 1st floor, which means it didn't work, or it'll start going up instead of down to the 10th floor. So the 10th floor. Once you arrive at the 10th floor, the doors will open. Unlike all of the other floors, you have a choice here. You can either stay on the elevator or you can get off. If the woman that got on the 5th floor is still there, she might ask you where you're going, and don't answer her. But from what I read, she like really tries to get you to answer the question, which is like so creepy on its own.
Yeah. Like,
I would
none
never.
of your damn business.
I know. Stop asking me. Harassment. So once you get off, there will be 2 things that you notice. It'll be almost like an abandoned floor, like all of the lights will be off. It'll just be you. And a lot of people described seeing like a window, and outside the window it looks like kind of deserted. It's nighttime and there's like a red glowing cross. But almost like it's on a building, like that kind of,
Okay.
yeah, creepy.
Yeah.
They say that electronic devices don't work, like phones, cameras, anything like that. You might get disoriented and forget which elevator you came in on. Some say if you lose consciousness or pass out, you'll wake up in your own bed, but it might not, like, it'll look like your house, but like something will be slightly off.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you're on like kind of like a different timeline.
So
which
why
they
do people do
describe.
this?
Because people are crazy. I would never.
I know.
Try
like,
that.
No.
But it's almost like, I feel like it's one of those things like when you're a kid, like Bloody Mary. They're like, go in there and turn off the light and see what happens. And you do it.
The amount of times I have to like actively remind myself, like if you go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I will be like going to the bathroom and then I'll be like, don't think it. Don't think it. Like, don't think it.
You're like, don't say it.
Yeah.
Your mind's like, Bloody Mary.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, there's no fighting it.
I love that you think. I've like never.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like it gives me that kind of vibe where it's like people are telling you a thing to do to get to something, so somebody's gonna try it.
Yeah, it's like a challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood.
So to return, you must use the same elevator to return as the one in which you arrived. Because from what it sounds like, there's different elevators. I mean, you're in a building, so I don't know if you explore. I don't know what would happen. They didn't expand on that.
Yeah.
And when you enter the elevator, press the buttons in the same order in which you did steps 2 through 8 of venturing out.
Would never remember.
They would already have I'm like, okay, the way down there, you have all these sequences you have to remember.
Yeah.
Now on the way back, you have to remember.
Yeah.
It's too
Absolutely
much.
not. I'd be stuck there for the rest of my life.
You're like, you know what? I'm just going to stay in the other world.
Yeah. Cool. Me and this lady, best friends. Like,
she'll just stare at me for the rest of my life.
I stare right back.
Until the end of time. So you should finish at the 5th floor. When you reach the 5th floor, press the button for the 1st floor. The elevator will again ascend to the 10th floor, but you have to cancel it to make sure it goes down.
I just imagine those. Sorry. We get stuck with the lady, but like we out awkward her. So
she's like, I'm actually going to get off.
I'm actually going to like, here's the sequence to get home. Like, just please leave me alone.
You ask her so many questions.
Yeah.
She's like, stop. You ask her to get on the podcast.
Yeah. I have so many stories to tell you.
Can you tell your story?
Yeah. She's like, get away from me.
She's like, I hate you guys. Okay, so it basically says when you get back, make sure everything seems like normal. Like nothing's like slightly off, like alternate timeline wise, like something's not right.
Yeah.
And so when you come back, a lot of people describe similar things happening to them. And it's usually the people that didn't do it like correctly.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you may bring home a malevolent spirit that attaches
Nope.
itself to you in the other world on the 10th floor. You may not have even noticed its presence on the 10th floor when it was like there.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say you find yourself seeing shadow people, which as we know, those are entities that you see out of the corners of your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and they disappear when you like see them or whatever.
I feel like, okay, well, I guess I need to listen to the other options, but
Like not so bad. So
yeah,
far.
not so bad.
Nightmares or sleep paralysis could affect you after returning home from the elevator game. And people describe feeling like they're being like watched. And what happens if you speak to the woman on the 5th floor?
That's what I want to know.
So a lot of people report seeing her in their home. And the creepiest thing to me, it's like, okay, like the corners, like peripherals of your vision, but a lot of people will say they see her in the mirror behind them.
Oh, I know.
I know. And I was just like, hell no. Like, no, thank you. I could never.
I would never look in a mirror again.
Yeah. And other people said they like wake up to like a shriek, which sounds like so scary.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I think the actual TikTok, so like I said, it was her friend that she ended up seeing,
Yeah.
but then she didn't realize it wasn't her friend at the time, so weird shit started happening after that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so don't do the elevator game.
Yeah. Well, I was curious because if she's showing up in your house, how do you know that it's her if she's shapeshift? Like, you know what I mean? Like
I think it shows up as whoever. Actually, no, that's a good.
Because then it would be like,
question.
Taylor's around all the time. Awesome. Like,
You're like, Taylor, why are you in my
Yeah.
house?
Just-
Well, the ones that I read when she was showing up, I think that's how she showed up on the elevator,
okay.
if I'm remembering correctly. Or, yeah, I think so.
Well, she probably shows up in like the most creepy version.
Yeah.
Like when she's following you home.
Like maybe her like original version or something.
Yeah. But she seems busy. Like, how's she hunting all these people?
I know. She's like another person playing the game.
My God. I had a 2:00 scheduled.
She's like, now I gotta be back on the damn elevator. But yeah, so that is the story of the elevator game.
Well, we're never going to play it, but I liked hearing about it.
Yeah, I will never play that, but I liked reading about it. And I feel like if you want to actually read the stories, just search elevator game Reddit and a bunch of them will come up.
Does anybody have videos of the game? Is that what you watched on TikTok?
No, it was a girl. So the person I watched on TikTok, people send their stories to her. And so
Oh.
she read her story. But no, that's actually a good question though, because like security camera footage,
Right?
like if
That's what
they
I-
would have gotten it, if they
Mhm.
could ask the building, I should look that up.
You want to take a break, look it up real quick, and then come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're back and we tried looking it up and there was really nothing,
Mhm.
but there was a bunch of like YouTube shorts of people doing it, but nothing happening.
Yeah.
But then what came up was the Lisa Lamb, in which I told Colleen it kind of reminded me of that. And she's like, oh yeah, it reminded me of that too, but I
Yeah.
don't want to bring it up in the middle. But yeah, if nobody knows that story, she's like running from something and she's
Well, don't give too much away because maybe I'll do it.
okay.
But everybody knows that story, actually. So,
Well, there's a lot more to it.
yeah.
But basically, she's hiding from an invisible being,
Yeah.
let's say, and
Mhm.
it takes place a lot in the elevator.
Yeah.
And Colleen will probably cover that story. So
Probably.
stay tuned.
Yeah. It's on my list for sure, but I know a lot of people have covered it. So we'll have to find
Yeah.
a unique.
I mean, I would definitely still tell it though, because that's a good one.
Okay. I'll add it to my list.
Yay.
Well, it's not what I'm covering today, but
I should have coordinated with you.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect.
that would have been wild if it was, though.
Yeah, because we tend to do that.
Yeah. Mine has nothing to do with your story.
That's
For like
okay.
the first time ever. maybe we'll uncover something where there's like a slight crossover, but nothing's coming to mind so far.
Okay.
Well, so Taylor, I've got something to tell you. And today I'm going to tell you the story of the Cleveland Strangler,
Whoa.
Anthony Soule. And this is a House of Horrors, and trigger warning, this one has details that may make people uncomfortable, so warning, warning, warning.
Mhm.
But you know what? Don't listen to a true crime podcast if you don't want the true crime.
Yeah.
So kicking off the story, it's the mid-2000s in Cleveland, Ohio. And this takes place in Mount Pleasant. And the neighborhood is on the city's east side. Mount Pleasant is a struggling area hit hard by poverty, crime, and neglect. It's kind of the opposite of what we have talked about. It is a neighborhood that has like more abandoned houses than it has people actually living in the house or living in the neighborhood. And also it gets very rarely paid attention to by the city and police and anybody that would help those people out. But there is one thing in Mount Pleasant that people can't and cannot ignore, and that's the smell. Yeah.
Ugh. What kind of smell?
I tell you now.
Okay.
So a horrible stench was spreading through the neighborhood. It was foul, like rotting meat mixed with death.
Ew.
And people walking down Imperial Avenue in the neighborhood would gag and cover their noses as they specifically passed by the duplex at 12205 Imperial Avenue. Neighbors complained about the smell constantly. It was coming from somewhere on or near the property, and it was getting worse by the day. For years, the neighbors complained, and the city started looking into it, but they blamed a nearby sausage factory.
Ew.
And
So gross.
so I mean, first of all, sausage factory sounds disgusting.
I know. And it's like being like, no, it's the sausage that smells like that.
Yeah.
Like, why would sausage smell like
and
that?
so they start spending like thousands of dollars like trying to clean up this sausage factory because they think it's like
They're like, it's your factory.
yeah, like they think it's like stuff like caught in the machines or like
Yeah.
anything like that. So the city's like, no, sausage factory, not this place that you guys are saying the smell is coming from.
Yeah.
So all while they're investigating the sausage factory and trying to get rid of the smell, women in the area are disappearing, and still people are complaining specifically about 12205 Imperial Avenue. So who lived at 12205 Imperial Avenue? That would be Anthony Sowell, the man at the center of this story. So by the mid-2000s, Sowell was in his late 40s, and to most people in the neighborhood, he did seem like he was a quiet, kind of just like unremarkable type of person, you know, friendly neighbor. He, though, did seem to have a little bit of a drinking problem because people often remember him sitting on his porch, like offering them drinks. And he's like, well, they thought it was friendly. It was just like, bro, like, it's noon. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, regular neighbor. So let's talk a little bit, though, about Anthony Sowell and his background. So this is where it's going to start getting dark. Just a warning.
Just a heads up.
Yep. I mean, if the smell didn't scare you off already, this...
It definitely wasn't the sausage factory.
It definitely
Spoiler.
was not the sausage factory. I mean, I don't think the sausage factory helped, but it wasn't the primary source. Okay, so Anthony Sowell was born on August 19th, 1959.
That is way too close to my birthday.
I was gonna say. Not 1959. Just saying.
Yeah.
Star signs.
He's a
Taylor.
Leo.
You have a very clean house, though, so.
Thanks.
Um,
Doesn't smell like a sausage factory?
no,
Okay.
no sausage. So he's born in East Cleveland, Ohio, and he grew up in a very chaotic and abusive household. His father left the family when he was young, so the primary caregiver was Sowell's mother, Claudia Garrison, and she was left to raise him alongside his 7 siblings. So Claudia ruled the house with an iron fist. She was physically abusive, and her cruelty didn't stop with just her own 7 children. Sowell's cousin Darlene also lived in the house with 6 other cousins. So they had 15 kids in that house.
Jeez.
And Claudia was the primary caregiver. Well, caregiver, I guess, is not the right phrase to use her because she did not care or give to these kids. So Darlene was the one that Claudia singled out the worst with the abuse. She was regularly beaten over the smallest things and mostly in front of the other children who Claudia would force them to watch her beat Darlene.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so obviously Anthony's witnessing this.
Yeah.
By the time Anthony was 11 years old, the violence in the house had escalated in a very disturbing way, and Sol and the other boys in the house began sexually assaulting Darlene. There's an episode of A&E's First Blood. If you've ever watched that, it's primarily focused on the victim, like the first victims of different killers and things like that. And they do an episode about Anthony, and they have a lot of the families and such of the different victims speaking, and they have Darlene on it. Like, for what she went through, I am shocked that she's like as strong of a woman as she is. She has a presence about her that is like just really inspiring when she's telling her story. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Recommend watching First Blood A&E. You can find it on YouTube, actually. But so in the episode, Darlene says, they would gang up on me, Anthony, his brothers. I had no one to protect me. So this wasn't just a difficult childhood. It certainly was more so like a breeding ground for the trauma, anger, and complete lack of empathy that Sol would demonstrate in his adulthood. So when he does reach adulthood, he was deeply broken, and the seeds had been planted to create a monster. In 1978, at the age of 19, Sol joined the U.S. Marines. For a while, it seemed like the structure and discipline of military life might straighten him out. He served for 7 years. He even earned several accolades, including, which I find very ironic, Good Conduct Medal and the Certificate of Commendation. So it's like, good guy.
He was a gold star.
Yeah. But honestly, nothing had really changed. He actually didn't like the structure of the Marines. What he actually enjoyed was the violence and learning how to kill. So when Sol was discharged in 1985, he returned to Cleveland, where he began, like I said, drinking heavily and starting to spiral out of control. After his discharge in 1989, Anthony Sol invites a 21-year-old woman who was 7 months pregnant to his home. She had known Sol casually and trusted him enough to be like, sure, why not, when he invited her. And once inside, he completely shifted. What started as a casual visit quickly turned into a nightmare. He attacked her. He tied her hands and her feet and began to brutally assault her. What she endured was horrifying. He choked her until she thought she was going to lose consciousness. He assaulted her repeatedly, and he held her captive for hours, threatening her and making it clear that she wasn't leaving unless he allowed it. Luckily, this woman was a fighter. So at some point during the ordeal, she managed to break free from her restraints and escape. She ran straight to the police and reported what happened. And so,
dang, she did all that while being 7 months pregnant. That's crazy.
That's unreal. Like, I don't think I could do, like...
That's like...
Sometimes I'm bloated and I'm like, I don't think I can, like, stand up today.
I know. Even laying down is, like, comfortable.
Sorry. Well, so yes, she did this all being 7 months pregnant.
You go, girl.
And so Anthony, they arrest him. He is found guilty of rape and attempted murder, and he's sentenced to 15 years in prison. So while he's in prison, there were no indications that he felt any sense of remorse for what he did. He served his time quietly, which, like, this stood out to me because I hear that, like, I feel like I read this all the time. Like, a lot of these guys have, like, priors, and they will spend time in jail, and they talk about them in jail being like, they were, like, a perfect, like,
prisoner.
And I think what they're doing is they're trying to like just fly under the radar, which maybe this is a dumb statement, but like they're trying to trick you into thinking, yeah, like why would they like put me in jail?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. So that's exactly what he's doing. So he serves his time quietly, doesn't cause any trouble, and he gets released in 2005. So what's really infuriating is this was a like brutal attack on this woman. And despite this brutality, he was released without any monitoring. So he becomes a registered sex offender, which requires him to check in with authorities periodically, but nobody's really keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
So
And like a sex offender, that's like the bare minimum.
Bare minimum. So he's essentially free to like go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants, which like as we've heard time and time again with these guys, like they go to jail, they serve their time, they don't really have any like further repercussions, so they're just like, I got away with it kind of thing. So after he gets out of jail in 2005, that's when he moves to 12205 Imperial Avenue. So we're going to jump back to 2009 as the smell intensifies. And so the stench surrounding 12205 Imperial Avenue had reached unbearable levels. Neighbors were complaining. The city's focus still remained, though, on the nearby sausage factory, which had done nothing to... So again, I told you, they were spending thousands of dollars on this freaking sausage factory and nothing solving the smell. And so it's getting worse. And again, at the time, women in the area continue to disappear. So it's clear something's wrong, but no one is connecting the dots. And then September 2009, everything changes. Latundra Billups, a 36-year-old woman, crosses paths with Anthony Soule. She's vulnerable. She is struggling with addiction. And like I said, the neighborhood that they live in is just, it's conducive for not helping people that have like addiction, things like that. Yeah. And it's pretty...
They spend all their money on the sausage factory.
They spend all their money on the sausage factory and not getting anybody help or searching for these women that are going disappearing. And the other thing that I found wild is, so they're getting all of these reports of missing people, but these missing people are adults. And apparently, if an adult is reported missing, they legally, I guess, don't actually have to go look for them.
Really?
Yeah, because they're an adult.
That's crazy.
So if they don't want to be found, yeah. So that's also interesting. So again, there's like a massive amount of women in this specific area going missing. Nobody's looking into it. All they care about it, like the smell is intensifying. People are saying it's coming from Anthony's house, but they're like sausage factory. So I'm sure people are we're all putting the pieces together right now. Like the fact that they didn't was insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Latundra Billups. And so she's struggling with addiction and just trying to navigate life in the neighborhood. And so Soule approaches her and he offers her to come have a drink at his house. And she agrees and goes home with him. Once inside the house, everything changes. His whole demeanor shifted completely, and the polite neighbor act was gone. He lunged at her without warning, grabbed her by the throat, and started choking her. His grip was so tight she could barely breathe, and she quickly realized that this wasn't just an attack, it was a fight for her life. Soule overpowered her and dragged her deeper into the house. He tied her up, restraining her so she couldn't escape, and then he brutally sexually assaulted her and told her that she was not leaving alive. During the hours that she was held captive, Latundra's mind raced. She later said that she was certain she was going to die in that house. But instead of giving in to fear, she focused on staying alive. She told him about her life, about her struggles, about the people who loved her. She mentioned her family, trying to make herself seem more human in his eyes. She reminded him that she wasn't just a random woman, she was someone's daughter and someone's friend. Latundra also tried to stay calm, even though she was terrified. She didn't yell or scream. Instead, she kept her voice steady, trying to de-escalate the situation. She started asking him questions about himself and trying to keep him distracted and buy herself time to think and find ways out of the situation. At some point, Soul seemed to lose focus, and she thinks that it was maybe just because like she was staying so calm that his like defenses went down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he let his guard down just long enough, and Latundra made her move. She broke free and ran out the door. She did not look back. She just ran, and she sprinted down the street until she was far enough to feel safe.
Oof.
Once she escaped, she went straight to the police, and she was obviously shaken, but she was certainly determined to report what had just happened.
Yeah.
Her testimony was detailed, and it gave the authorities evidence they needed to obtain a search warrant for Anthony Soule's home. Finally.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus.
I feel like if somebody's house stank as bad as like his did, I would like just...
And if he had a previous record.
Yeah. Again, we're putting the dots together. Like, they just clearly didn't care.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is, I told you that this attack happened in September 2009. They don't go and search his house until October.
So at that point, he probably killed like multiple people.
Well, yeah, but also I think it's just it's indicating how much they just did not care. Like they have a warrant, they need to go search this house. They had a woman that came in.
They're like, we'll get to it when we get to it.
When we get to it. But it was a solid 5.
They're like, we'll get to it when we figure out the sausage factory.
Yeah, we got sausages to solve. Like,
bigger case, okay?
Yeah. We got a sausage case. Oh gosh. Okay, so while they do finally they are finally gonna go look at it, but it's a solid 5 weeks before they get to it. So on October 29th, 2009, they go in with their search warrant. Police enter Anthony Soule's home at 12205 Imperial Avenue. And what they find inside is horrifying. It is not a sausage factory. So the moment officers stepped inside, they were hit with the overpowering stench of decomposition. It was the same smell neighbors had been complaining about for years, and the smell is just the beginning. The deeper they go into the house, the worse it got. I'm going to list what they find, so just get ready. They find 11 bodies of women that were decomposing.
Ew.
2 bodies were found in the living room, lying on the floor, partially covered with blankets. Another body was discovered in an upstairs bedroom, wrapped in sheets and left to rot. 4 bodies were found in shallow graves in the backyard, some so decomposed that investigators initially struggled to identify them. 1 body was found in the basement, stuffed into a garbage bag and surrounded by maggots.
Ew.
So this house was not just a crime scene, it was a massive grave.
And he lived in that.
And
That's
lived in that.
Disgusting. For years.
Ew. Maggots. Ugh.
That smell, he's all just like used to it.
Ew, imagine what he smelled like.
Yeah, he's probably smelled terrible.
He probably smelled awful. Ew, you know what he probably did though? Axe body spray.
Oh my God. Not even that could mask that.
Yeah. What's worse? Axe body spray or sausage factory
the
smell?
combination.
Yeah. Nasty.
Sick.
Okay, so the state of the victims were found in varying stages of decomposition, which made identifying them a very long and difficult process. Some bodies had been in the house for years, while others were more recent. Investigators determined that Soule had used ligatures like belts, cords, or ropes to strangle his victims.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the women had defensive wounds, which meant they fought like fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the most disturbing discoveries was in the crawl spaces. We hate a crawl space.
Ew.
Soul had used these small confined areas to hide bodies, and the air inside these spaces was suffocating, and the smell was nearly unbearable, even for investigators who were wearing protective gear.
Mm-hmm.
The backyard was another chilling scene. Soul had buried several of his victims in shallow graves, so like not even like deep enough to cover them.
Mm-hmm.
And because these were just like makeshift burial sites that were hastily dug, no attempt to conceal them beyond just a thin layer of dirt, they found bones just sitting on top of the dirt because like the weather would, he hadn't covered it enough, so like the weather would move the dirt around where like the bodies had decomposed, and so bones were just like sticking out.
Oh my God.
Investigators described the backyard as a dumping ground where Soul had discarded his victims as if they were garbage. So, in addition to the bodies, police find other disturbing evidence: ropes, belts, other ligatures that were believed to have been used to strangle his victims. They find blood stains and DNA evidence linking Soul to several of the victims, all of the victims, but some of them they do need the DNA. They also find, like I had shared in the beginning, he clearly had a alcohol abuse problem with empty liquor bottles scattered throughout the house, which were likely used to lure his victims inside because he kept offering them drinks. So the conditions inside the house were appalling. It was filthy, trash piled up in every room. The smell of decay had seeped into the walls, the floors, and the furniture. And the investigators found it hard to stay in the house for more than a few minutes before they would.
Bet.
Yeah. So the discovery at 12205 Imperial Avenue wasn't just shocking, it was unprecedented. The house was just a house of absolute horror, and he had carried out unimaginable violence in that home for years. The saddest part, though, is when these victims were identified, many had been reported as missing by their families that the police just had simply not followed up on. This whole story isn't just about what happened inside that house, but also about what was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
For years, families reported their loved ones missing, only to be dismissed or ignored. Many of the women Anthony Sowell killed were struggling with addiction or homelessness, and because of that, their lives were treated as if they didn't matter. One of these women was Crystal Dozier, a 38-year-old mother of 7. Her family reported her missing in 2007, but the police showed little interest, and I'm going to quote her mother, Dorothy Dozier. They didn't look for her because of who she was. She was struggling, but she was still my daughter. She still was somebody. Another victim, Tanya Carmichael, went missing in 2008. Her family begged for help, but their concerns were brushed aside. Tanya's body was later found buried in Soul's backyard. These women and the others who lost their lives deserved better. They deserved to be seen, to be valued, and to be protected. So Anthony Sowell was arrested in October 2009 and charged with 11 counts of aggravated murder, along with numerous charges of rape, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse, which I'm sure you know what that means.
Yeah.
His trial began in 2011, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. So there were other survivors, like Latundra Billups. Others who escaped spoke at his trial. Vanessa Gay, who in 2008, Sowell invited her to his house under the pretense of celebrating her birthday. Once inside, he attacked her, tied her up, and threatened her with a knife. Vanessa later said, "I thought I was going to die, but I kept talking to him, trying to make him see me as a person." At first, she did not report the attack, fearing no one would believe her. But when Soul was arrested in 2009, she came forward and she testified in court. Gladys Wade. In December 2008, Gladys Wade encountered Soul while walking through the neighborhood. Soul attacked her on the street and dragged her into his home.
Oh my God.
Once inside, he beat her severely and attempted to rape her. Despite her injuries, Gladys fought back and managed to escape. She ran to the police, bloodied and bruised. She reported what happened. The police did not follow up.
Crazy.
Sean Morris. Sean Morris was another survivor who testified against Sal during his trial. She had encountered him in 2007, and like the others, she was lured into his house with promises of alcohol. Once inside, Sal attacked her, choking and assaulting her. Sean fought back and eventually escaped, though she was deeply traumatized by the experience and was too scared to report the attack. The jury deliberated for less than a day before finding Saul guilty of all charges, and he was sentenced to death.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Much deserved.
Yeah, I mean, and just hearing all of these survivor stories, he probably attacked even more people than we could imagine. So,
yeah, because if it was already a town that like didn't really care, then a lot of people probably didn't even report it.
Exactly. So even though he was sentenced to death, Saul never faced execution. In 2021, he died in prison from a terminal illness, which, like I said, means probably taking to his grave all of the crimes that he committed, because we only know of the 11 bodies and the few survivors that came forward.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to do is remember the victims, because they weren't just names. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends that had lives, dreams, and people who loved them, and they didn't deserve to just be another victim on a list. So their names are Crystal Dozier, Tanya Carmichael, Talacia Forston, Imelda Hunter, Michelle Mason, Kim Yvette Smith, Nancy Cobbs, Janice Webb, Diane Turner, LaShonda Long, and Barbara Kelly. And to end my story, I'm going to go back to Dorothy Dozier, who was Crystal Dozier's mother. She says, "I want the world to know these women were loved. They were important. They were somebody, and they did not deserve what happened to them."
Aww.
Yeah. So that is the story of the Cleveland Strangler and the House of Horrors of Anthony Sowell.
Yeah, that is for sure a house of horrors.
Yeah.
Yuck. Like, that is...
Sorry, that was a heavy one,
like,
but
crazy that he lived in that.
Oh, like, and I mean,
that says like even more about him.
It says way more about him, and they show in, like, I watched like so many like shows about him because you can find so much information, but
yeah,
they have so many pictures of just like how disgusting this house was.
Oh.
Like, I'm sorry, but even, this is going to sound victim blaming, and I don't mean it to, but like if somebody invited me in to like have a drink or have a snack, and then I walked into that, I'd be like,
I didn't even think about that, because
Yeah.
all the people he was inviting over, like immediately as soon as you get in there, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go. But like maybe he like attacked them like immediately though.
Well, and I think also he chose victims where they were in a place where they couldn't be choosy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they needed some sort of like shelter.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh yeah, because it said some of the people were homeless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're already used to living conditions that aren't great.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's a crazy story.
It's a rough one.
It was. But well told.
Thanks.
Well, if anyone wants to send us any listener stories, Colleen.
igsttystories@gmail.com.
I was gonna say, what did you say last time? Spelling bee.
Spelling bee time.
And I was like, what? And don't forget to rate and review us on wherever you listen to this.
Mhm.
So, because it really helps. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, follow. We already plugged our social, but just a reminder: igstty pod
Mm-hmm.
on every social platform.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah. So whatever pick your poison.
Follow us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Later.
Bye.